Hey guys, I am your host Zarissa and this is LeBlanc Library. Welcome back, you guys. I am freaking on it, okay? I literally finished that book today. It's been a week today that I have finished the book called A Court of Thorn and Roses by Sarah J. Maas. Where's my laptop? Hold on. We finished the book. Okay, and now we are here to talk about it. I'm like, let's just get into it. So the book, do we need to go back over the synopsis again or are we good? We're good? Okay, so the book was really good. It was really good. There were some parts where I kind of was like, okay, like I kind of lost interest. But near the end of the book, when things got crazy, I was like, okay, I'm into it. So, by the way, if you haven't read the book, do not listen to this podcast. If you have not listened to the whole book, do not listen to this podcast. This is literally a book club of us talking about what happened completely in the book. So there are spoilers everywhere in this podcast. The whole episode is a spoiler. So anyways, is it really considered a spoiler? I don't know. Anyways, so what happened was at the beginning, I'm starting dead at the beginning. The girl, the main character's name is Feyre. Feyre is poor, okay? She is over here taking care of her father and her two older sisters. Feyre is the youngest. She is over here hunting in the woods so her family can eat. And she just finds what she can because she's like a self-taught huntress. And before they were a high-class group of humans. Like they had a manor, they had money. The dad was like a really good merchant up until, well, I think we'll get to that, but basically they lost their whole fortune, so they had to figure out how to fend for themselves. So it was actually very hard. The sisters, they kind of don't do anything really. One of them just likes having a garden and flowers and is just really happy, and the other one is really stern and mean. That's the oldest one. And the dad walks with a limp because when they came to collect the money that he owed, they knocked him in his knee a couple times. I'm like, ooh, they rough. So what happened was Feyre had went out to hunt and a deer was in the clearing. So a wolf came out and she was like, that's a big ass wolf. And she didn't know if it was a fairy or if it was a wolf, but she was like, if it's a fairy, I gotta kill it. Because in this book, fairies are bad. Fairies will kill humans. They are not the cute little twinkle twinkle, let me grant your wish fairies. These are the I'll eat you, or I'll torture you, or I'll enslave you, human. Can't stand you. They don't like the human race. I don't really know what it is because it seems like it stems really from them. Like, maybe as the series goes on, it's going to explain why they enslaved humans and why they treated us the way they did. But, she just killed the wolf and she skinned the wolf alive, took his pelt, and also she took the deer that he killed. And so the family was going to be able to eat for the next 2 weeks. So she went to the market, sold some stuff. Also, Feyre was kind of that girl. Like, she had a little situation on the side, like, that she would do things with, like, I can't remember that guy's name because he's like irrelevant to the grand scheme of things. But basically he was almost like I don't want to say friends with benefits, but that's like the best way I can describe their relationship. Like, he gave her a look, they went and did stuff, and he boldly told her like he was getting married to somebody and stuff, and she didn't really like love him for real. It was just something that helped her get through her day. Of being poor and not knowing when their next meal was and having to fend for her family. She was also very skinny and frail, and she was depicted as quote unquote ugly. I think she thought she was ugly, but really she was just underfed. So then what happened? Oh, she sold the stuff at the market and except the meat. The meat was for 2 weeks, but then a fairy came and they were like, hey, yo, you killed so-and-so. It was one of our brethren. Like, you killed a fairy. And then she was just like, yeah, but like, he was shaped like a wolf. Like, how was I supposed to know for real? And they were like, you ain't never seen a wolf that big. It was a fairy. And then she was like, fair enough. Okay, so what happens next? And then they were like, I mean, you're gonna be stuck living with us in our world, which is called Prithian. We're gonna, like, you have to stay because of the fairy treaty. And she was like, well, then there's no point in me going because you might as well just kill me right now because I wouldn't survive in your realm. I don't know anything about your realm. Y'all be killing us for real. Yeah, you can kill me right now. And he was like, you could stay with me and live on my quarters and you'll be unharmed. And she was just like, well, what about my family? Like, I'm the breadwinner. Like, she's literally the person that keeps them alive. She's the one who's hunting so they can have food / making the money, what little money they do have. And he was like, fine, they'll be taken care of, but you have to come with me. And she was just like, okay. And her dad told her not to come back. So she goes to Prithian with him, and he has this giant estate, puts her in a room that she's never, like, she hasn't lived that kind of lifestyle in a long time. And to be honest, I think she was really young when they lost their fortune. So it's not like she got to experience it like her sisters did. So the reason why her sisters were so, I'm not doing hard labor, they were raised like high class for a while. And now I think she's like 18 or 19 in the story. She's like an adult now. But basically from a young age, she had to fend for her family, and they're older than her. They never said how much older, but they were old. They were up in age enough to where they had like high society vibes versus their sister, who was they would call her a savage or a barbarian. So she's going to this and she's like, what is this? And then she's eating. She almost felt bad for eating because she made a promise to her mom that she would take care of the family. And I think it's kind of crazy that the mom was like, you gonna have to take care of the family. Like, you. I'm like, so 2 older siblings and a dad, but you pick the youngest is crazy. So she's always been the one that had to take care of them. And now she's being taken care of. She was like, I don't know if I'm really taking care of my family because I'm over here living lavish now and they're living in a shack. And he's like, no, they're well taken care of. I promised you that they'd be taken care of. So the main character love interest, his name is Tamlin, and his friend, his homeboy, his right-hand man, his emissary, his name is Lucian. So Lucian and Tamlin are kind of like stank with her. Well, no. Tamlin is actually pretty nice to her. Lucian doesn't really like her like that because he's like, I mean, you killed our friend. And she's just like, I don't even know why I'm here. It doesn't seem like you like me too much. And she's going out and all of them are wearing masks. So everyone that lives in the spring court, almost forgot. In the spring court, all wear masks. If I'm saying the wrong court, it's going to be put up here somewhere. Or I will chime in and be like, summer court. I think it's spring though. Spring court all have masks. And they're like, it's because of a blight. That's what they said it was. But really, I'm jumping ahead. But it's supposed to be a blight. It's a curse that they have to wear masks. And that's just how it is. So as time goes on, she's starting to like fill out. She's starting to eat well. She's starting to become happy. And this is important, but old girl can't read. Like, she cannot read at all. Well, let me not say can't read at all. It's more like she's on the level of a 5-year-old reading. Like, that's kind of where she's at. That's what I mean by her sisters really got high society, kind of like they've got the good education and she didn't. And actually her older sister decided that she doesn't need to go to public school, which is why she can't read. And I'm like, now why would you do her like that? And she was like, it's beneath us. I'm like, we're poor. It's not beneath anybody, you know? That's how I would feel. And that's probably how she felt too. So she doesn't know how to read, and it was found out that she couldn't read, and she feels like really bad about not knowing how to read. And he's like, well, what do you want to do while you're here then? And they bought her paints because she really liked painting, even though she was like, I'm not good at painting, but I like to paint. It's something that I really enjoy. So he bought her all the paints and all the brushes, and they're just slowly starting to fall for each other. It's real cute, real mushy. She's learning some things about them. They had something called the Great Something. I can't remember. I was right. Tamlin is a Spring Court daddy. Yes, he is. Oh, High Lord, sorry, and he's a High Fae. I think I just kind of glossed over that. My bad. Okay, so the other question is, okay, it was called, okay, so I'm gonna tell you about the ritual that Tamlin had to do. Okay, it was called the column. No, it wasn't. The Great Rite. And basically, I'm calling it a sex fest. They didn't go into detail, so it's really, this book is pretty PG-13, you know, and I give it more towards the violence than I do the sexual stuff in here. But the Great Rite was to gain power, and like they made her stay inside because they were like, you gotta stay inside. But they wouldn't explain what it was, and so she went out anyway. I'm not gonna lie. Farrah, like, she was cool, but she also did stuff that I was like, Farrah, come on now. But she went out there, and Lucian had to come get her and be like, girl, go inside right now. Because if he finds you, which is Tamlin, he's not himself. He could come after yo Hakuna Matata. And if you're not about that life, I would suggest you go inside. So that's something that had to happen. The other thing that they had was a summer solstice. That was something she was allowed to go to as well. And she did thoroughly get to enjoy that. What else happened? Little things that I feel like were happening led up to what the ending was going to be. I feel like I'm jumping all over the place. Like, I hope I'm not fully off track now, but basically she was having a good time, but there were little sprinkle bad things happening. So the first bad thing that I can think of that happened, I feel like, oh, okay, so let me go back. The Sorial. Oh my God, I feel like I'm jumping everywhere, but there's this thing called the Sorial that she caught, and she was asking questions because she wanted to go back home for some reason. She was fighting, wanting to go back home. But the Sorial was like, stick with Tamlin and you'll always be safe. I'm gonna have to, I don't know what I'm gonna have to do because I feel like I'm jumping everywhere. You know what? Next video, next podcast, I'm gonna put like bullet points and I'm not gonna just vibe like I'm vibing. But anyways, the first bad thing that happened was a fairy. Tamlin had brought in a fairy, and the fairy was dying. The wings had been taken off. He was like, he took my wings. And it was so sad, you guys. Like, I cried because he just seemed so childlike, the way he was like, she took my wings. Like, he's saying it like how a child would be like really sad over something. I was like, oh my God, that poor fairy. And so she held his hand and everything, and it was really sad. And Lucian couldn't take it because Lucian had been through a lot. Also, Lucian I didn't add, which is why I'm like, okay, we have got to put footnotes next time for this. Lucian was originally from the Autumn Court, and he became an emissary for Tamlin, and he only has one real eye, and we're gonna get to why later. But Lucian threw up from it, and he was like, what the hell? And then the next thing that happened that was weird was there was a High Lord. It wasn't a High Lord. It was maybe it was just a regular fairy. A regular fairy's head was put on a pitchfork or whatever, and they were like, she was just like, I don't know if I'm safe. And the whole time she thought there wasn't really many people on this estate. It was just them and like Alice. Oh my God, I didn't even tell you about Alice. Alice is like her right hand girl. She dresses her, bathes her, gets her ready for the day, and sometimes gives her hot cocoa and talks to her. Alice, Tamlin, and what is his name? And Lucian were the only people that she saw. And then Tamlin was like, you want to know what's really going on? I'll take the glamour off. He took the glamour off. There were fairies around her the whole time. So the whole time she thought he just knew what she had going on. Wrong. She thinks she tiptoeing around in the courtyard and they just looking at her like, girl, we see you, but you don't see us. So bad stuff just kind of keeps happening. Oh my God, that was important for me to tell you then. Okay, so the Great Right, she was not supposed to be there. I'm jumping again. The Great Right, she was not supposed to be there. And she ran into somebody. We're not going to say his name yet. Or are we? Should we just say his name? She ran into a fairy named Reese. She didn't know what his name was yet, but she ran into him and he saved her because she was about to get took by 3 weird looking fairies because she was somewhere she wasn't supposed to be. And he saved her, and then she ain't seen him since. Reese popped up, and this is the pinnacle turning point in the book. Reese popped up and she was like, oh my God, I know who that is. And they're trying to glamour to hide her, right? And Reese comes in and he's like patronizing, talking about, hey, you better give her what she wants or that's gonna be your behind. And she's like, who is she? Everyone keeps just saying she ripped my wings, she did this, and nobody knows who she is. And they're trying to glamour, and then eventually he goes, he tried to glamour, he saw through the glamour because he disrupted them while they were eating and saw there were 3 placemats. They were like, who's the third person? Who is it? And then he saw her and he remembered seeing her and he was like, you tried to glamour me? Are you kidding me? And he was like, please don't tell her about her. And then he was like, beg. You don't want me to tell? Beg. And I'm like, this man here, who is he? Because I think they did say his name by this point. And he was like, okay, I'll consider not telling her. Also, he's known as this lady's whore. He's known as her go-to thing. So he leaves and he's like, yeah, you gotta go back home. And she was like, what about the treaty? He was like, I'll figure it out. But we packing you up and you gotta go because it's getting unsafe and I don't feel like I can protect you. So she was like, no, I want to stay. He was like, you gotta go. So what she did, they ended up making love. And also the making love scene wasn't too crazy either. In this book, it was like they talked about it, but they didn't go into like crazy details. It was more like, it was quick, maybe a page long. And in my theory, it's like you got like maybe 2 to 5 minutes of them talking about what they were doing, but it wasn't really like, oh, it was more like, you know what I mean? Just a little bit. It was, what was more saucy leading up to it, because they would say like certain things, I can't remember right now, and I'll be like, but when they finally did it, it was like, I mean, that was nice. that was good. Yeah, wasn't too crazy. Love making, we like it. It wasn't crazy. It wasn't no 50 Shades, but it was still good. So then she gets sent home to her family, who she thought she'd never see again. And she was so sad. She was like, I don't want to go. I'm like, wow, you wanted to get back and now you like, She goes back. They live in an estate. And they didn't even recognize her because now, you know, her curves have finally came in because she's not starving, and also she's not hunting because she don't got to. She's living her soft life. Okay, she's in her soft girl era, clearly. And they're like, "Milady," and she's like, "Girl, it's me, it's Farrah." And they were like, "Hey, girl." Also, her older sister's name is Nesta, and the other, what's the other one's name? Oh, girl. Can you tell how I feel like they're not relevant, clearly? Thank God for Google. Thank God. Elaine. I remember Nesta because Nesta was actually talking about it. Elaine, she was living in her Delulu era. Okay, she was delusional. So they had, I didn't also add, because I forgot, they were glamored to think that she went off to go live with a great aunt who had a lot of money, and and that's why she was gone. So they didn't remember that she got took from their hut because she killed a fairy. So, and then the lifestyle they started living, it was like, oh my goodness, some guy just asked father to do this and that, and so he gave us a lot of money, and then all of his ships that went missing were found in all of his profits, so now we're rich as hell. And I'm like, wow, Tamlin really liked her, loved her. He loved her. Actually, he said he loved her before she left. But they're all glamored, but Nesta's still looking like sour as always, looking like whatever. And so while she's there, and also Tamlin gave her hella money. Like, she's so rich she could live 5 lives at this point. Like, he gave her some serious money. And she gave a percentage to her dad to fund his business, and she still had too much money. So she went back to her old village and she gave it to the poor people. And then she ran into her old lover, her old little, yeah, you know what I'm talking about. And he was married, and he kind of got like, this is awkward or whatever. Like, what is he gonna say seeing me happy and married? But she was genuinely happy for him, and she didn't feel anything because by then she had fell for Tamlin anyway. I mean, she felt some feelings for him, but they were never deep. So seeing him happy made her happy. She was happy that he had moved on. So she came back home and she finally talked to Nesta. Nesta was like, girl, they acting like they don't know what's going on. Oh, because the dad and Elaine are living in the clouds. Like, they really just are glamored. And she was like, I guess you just gotta have just a little bit of a strong will to not be glamored. And she was just like, I can't believe that they really are glamored. Well, she's not surprised, but she wasn't glamored at all. And she's like, what happened? So Farrah told Nesta everything, and her and Nesta actually got close from all this. And it turned out everything that Farrah felt about Nesta was kind of wrong. She thought like Nesta didn't like her, she was mean, she was this, that, and the third. But it turned out that Nesta actually does care a lot, and that's why she is so mean and aggressive, because she's been through a lot. She's the oldest. She saw like all the things. She was there when they lost their money. She was there at the peak of it. She saw her mom die. I forgot to add, their mom isn't alive. And she can't stand the father. The oldest one can't stand their dad because he didn't help when they were poor. It was Farrah having to go out there. She was like, I hated you for that because you could provide in a way I couldn't. I really hated you for that. And I'm like, you couldn't just appreciate it? But no, because she's the oldest and she's supposed to be the one that has to take care of. So for the youngest to be the one that's reliable hurt Nesta, but also she hated her dad because he was, before they became broke, he could have she felt like he could have saved her, and he didn't. And so she still hates him to this day. So, oh my God, I literally forgot. the guy, Reeson, before Feyre left, he asked her name and she did not give her real name, and she gave a different name of someone that they kind of knew. And that was the talk of the town when she came back. Oh, their house burned down. Their house burned down. And she wasn't paying no attention. And I was like, okay, somebody's house burned down and y'all don't even give a damn because y'all already talking about taking their estate. Y'all don't even care. And then all of a sudden they said, oh, the so-and-sos. And she was like, I used that name. And they came and took them out. And they were like, yeah, the girl's missing though. And she's like, oh my God, I need to fix this. Like, I need to know what's going on and why all this stuff. Like, she felt like something was really, really wrong and she needed to go back to Prithian. And when she just, and like her and Nesta ended up talking about it over dinner, and the dad and Elaine are like, what? And the glamour finally lifted. They finally remembered Feyre was took. I mean, they have all that stuff, but Elaine remembered and hugged her, and she was like, I wish we could have went out of town. Like, I remember everything. The dad, Feyre didn't even tell him bye. And I feel like once he remembered everything, I think he fell back into a stupor, because this whole time he just thought it was all him that put them back on the map, and it was really Feyre. And basically all of his wishful thinking was like shattered. So nobody knew where he was. And Feyre went back. When she went back to that house, it was vacant. Nobody was there except for Alice. And Alice finally explained the whole thing. She was like, okay, we can tell you now because this is the tea. This is what's going on. He was under a spell because of Amarantha. Okay, it wasn't a Blythe. It was Amarantha. Amarantha, your tantra. That girl, we don't like her anyway. She's irrelevant. I'm kidding. Amarantha, girl, was gonna take me out with that name. He wasn't allowed to say what was going on with his curse, and nobody in his court was allowed to say anything about the curse. So they came up with like a story, but how the curse went was, I remember what the curse did. I don't remember why she cursed him. Why did Amarantha curse Tamlin? That's what he did. Okay, so, well, let's start. Amarantha is she's like a ruthless ass girl. She's ruthless. I can't remember what court she's part of. Oh my gosh, I promise you, I listened to the book. It's a lot of stuff. Okay, she was part of the Highburns court. That's what it was. And the best commander, she was like head girl in his army, basically. And she was out here killing people, okay? There was a big war between humans and fairies, and she was like, slice. She was out here. And she had a sister whose name is escaping me. And we got to look up the sister's name, because we're going to put some respect on her name, on hers. I don't know for what. Sister's name. Okay. Clithia. Baby, I wasn't going to remember that. Clithia. Her and her sister was out here slicing and dicing in the war, killing humans, torturing them, doing all kinds of stuff. She was always ruthless. So when they were telling us about Amarantha, she had been that girl to just off you on sight. But her sister did die because her sister fell in love with, oh my God, what is Jurian? Thank God. She fell in love with this other commander who was ruthless, but he was human, and his name was Jurian. And everyone kept telling her, you know, Jurian is just using you so he can win. And she was like, I don't care. Clithia didn't care. And he killed Clithia in the most terrible way for war. And once Amarantha got a hold of him, Oh, she did worse. She did worse. But she decided to say all humans suck because of Jurian and because she lost her sister. Can I please sidebar on that right now? She had been ruthless. So for her to use that as an excuse was like stupid. Because I'm like, you had been killing humans crazy ways while she was alive, while Clythia was alive. I just think you wanted to continue to kill humans. And you wanted to, because I'm like, if you already got your revenge on Jurian, why did you have to just continue? So the tie-in with Tamlin is he had been around her, you know, because he was High Lord, and he's always been in line to be High Lord. So his father was around her father. So they had met each other and they had been around each other. And she was like, be my consort. She really asked him to be with her. And he insulted her because he didn't like how violent she was. Because again, she was always violent. It was not just because her sister died. She had been killing humans. And he really didn't like that. His dad did that too. And he didn't really like his dad too much. And he insulted her and was like, I don't want to be with you, girl. I'd rather be with a human than be with you. And she was like, okay. And so she put a spell on him. I'm trying to remember. I think she killed his family too. If I'm not mistaken, I feel like Amarantha killed his family. Hold on. Who killed Tamlin's? Rhysand killed Tamlin's whole family. My bad. I was really trying to give it to Amarantha. But anyways, she put a curse on him. She was like, I got you. That's what you want? That's what you want? Got you. So what she did, oh, and then to make amends, he had sent Lucian, and Lucian had said something. Oh, he said something about Clythia. He was like, man, your sister enjoyed the company of a human more than she enjoyed being around you. So she took his eye. So to apologize, she was like, I want to apologize for taking your emissary's eye. Y'all, let's have a masquerade ball in your honor. All your court come in. Let's wear a mask to hide his eye. They all wore the mask, and that's how they got the mask stuck on their face, because they couldn't remove them until the curse. So the curse was that Tamlin had to get married to a human, but not just any human. She had to hate fairies. She had to kill a fairy. Then she had to like fall in love with him and admit that she loved him in order for the curse to break. I was like, baby, that's a lot of steps. That's a lot of steps. And so he had to send out his actual court people to be killed, basically, because he couldn't tell a human, hey, I need you to do da da da. Like, that was the other thing. No one knew what it was. So he stopped sending people for a while, and for decades he didn't do it, and then he stopped doing it, and then he finally did it. Also, most of the human girls that they would find would run for their lives. They're like, oh my God, like, girls just not out here hunting and killing like that. And so they ran across Feyre. And oh, this is Alice telling her this stuff. Feyre, all she had to do was say, I love you. And she didn't say it back to him, and that would have broke it. But he had a couple of days before he had to be taken by Amarantha. But he felt like if Amarantha found her, she would kill her before she could ever break the curse anyway. And he actually fell in love with Feyre. So he was like, you know what? Go home. Go home. Keep you safe. That's all I can do. And Alice was like, well, it doesn't matter now. And she's like, no, I'm gonna go save him. She's like, girl, is you crazy? Have you not seen nothing she did? That hat, that severed head on the fence, her. That other fairy that ain't had no wings, her. The girl that put the curse on us, her. And you a human, and you think you can handle her? You can handle her. Because another thing about Amarantha, she has taken everybody's power. Every High Lord is powerless and is part of her court now, because she used a spell to take all of their power. So any power that they have is just a morsel compared to what they can really do. And I think it's like 7 High Lords. And I think Tamlin was like the last one. And that's the one that she wanted to be with the most. So she was like, I don't care. I love him. I'm gonna go. And so literally, Alice was like, all right, don't drink the wine. That fairy wine, different. Don't trust your senses. Do not make deals unless your life depends on it. Magic is very tricky, so make sure it's to the T what she's telling you. And she was like, all right, girl, I hope you don't die. Okay, bye. So she took her there, and she got there. And when she got there, she literally got to see Amarantha like kind of immediately. It was pretty quick. They were in the throne room. Hated her. Hated Amarantha. Hated her instantly. They were like, oh, so you love so-and-so? So Reasoned actually kept his word. He did not tell who it was, like specifically. He kept her safe, but he used the name that she had gave and strewn up like Jesus on the crucifix. They had the girl that they put the wrong name to, and she called Amarantha, was like, you told me it was her. And he was like, humans all look alike to me. I mean, and she was like, so that wasn't your name. And she was like, I'm here for Tamlin. I'm here. I love him. I'm trying to break his curse. Can I break it? Can I do that? And she's like, okay, if you can live through all the trials that I give you, sure. You got 3 trials. Do you accept? And it took, I will say, I'm proud of Feyre for really listening to Alice, because she didn't just accept anything. She really made that girl bargain and negotiate. And I still feel like Feyre could have got more out of it, but she got probably as much as she was going to get out of Amarantha. Basically, she had 3 tasks, 3 trials, or she needed to solve the riddle. Let me tell you what the riddle is, because the riddle had me like, is it a person or what is it? Like, what is it? So if she got the riddle, she didn't even have to do the trials. Everybody could go home. So if she got the riddle, Tamlin would be free. His court would be free. She would have to give him his power back, and she would have to let him go, and they could be happy. Like, she was real specific, and she was like, okay, if you answer the riddle, instant. And this is going to be important because the riddle was instant, but the trials. Anyways, so this is the riddle. There are those who seek me a lifetime, but never we meet, and those I kiss, but who trample me beneath ungrateful feet. At times, I seem to favor the clever and the fair, but I bless all those who are brave enough to dare. By large, my ministrations are soft-handed and sweet, but scorned I become a difficult beast to defeat. For though each of my strikes lands a powerful blow, when I kill, I do it slow. If you read the book, you already know what the answer is, but we're gonna leave it till the end, because yeah. What did she do? So she was like, girl, what does that even mean? And everyone like laughed or whatever. And then she was like, okay, well, what? She was like, every full moon, you got to do a trial. And she was like, okay, so where do I stay until then? She was like, in the dungeon as a prisoner. She said, doing what? Like, y'all need to actually take care of me. She's like, okay, we'll take care of you, but you have to do housely chores to earn your keep. And she was like, I could have punched this girl. And I'm like, I could have punched her with you, because earn your keep? Really? She had that girl in the dungeon. And then after the terms were agreed on, she said, well, let's give her a warm welcome, and jumped. Oh, girl. I was like, I hate this girl. I hate her big time. She's so mid. I don't like her. We don't like Amarantha, whatever her name is, Amanda. We don't like her. So, she got jumped, and Lucian, when he got the chance, like, healed her. And he was like, what the hell are you doing here? You better live, girl. because he literally tried to save your butt by just being down here with you. And also, Tamlin's not even speaking. He's not saying anything. And Lucien had to tell her, do you think, like, she didn't correlate that the reason why he's being so stoic is to save her, because he doesn't want Amarantha to use anything against her, you know, because she don't want her to win for real. She don't want her to win. She wants her to lose, die, and she wants to show how torturous she can be in front of Tamlin. And what's crazy to me, I'm like, if you want to be with Tamlin so bad, why do you continue to torture him? Like, if you kill her, yeah, he's stuck with you, but he's always gonna hate you and want to go against you. Like, you catch more flies with honey than you do vinegar, me. Anyways, so they kind of heal her up a little bit, and they're giving her horrible bread. They got her in a cold cell. I'm like, just the hospitality is not there. And she goes, oh, they're in a mountain, by the way. They're like under a mountain, under the mountain court. I can't even remember what it's called. Her court. Court. And so her first task, y'all, she gotta fight a blind worm with hella teeth. I'm like, really? But I'm not gonna lie, I feel like the task got easier and easier as they went on. The first one was definitely meant for her to die, and she was like, shit, I thought she was gonna die. But she really did her big one, okay? Feyre did that. She did win against the worm. She messed up her arm big time, and Reasoned had set a deal with Feyre, like, okay, girl, if you want me to fix your arm, you have to hang out with me 2 weeks out of every month. And she said 5 days. And then he was like 10. She was like, a week. And he was like, okay, a week. And once he healed her arm, he put tattoos all over her arm. And she was like, why did you do that? Why? And she had to, because her arm was broken and she had covered her whole self with sludge and stuff. And she was getting infected and she was dying, girl. She had to do what she had to do to survive. So, crazy thing about that was, like, once she decided to be cool with him, life got better with her being in the dungeon, okay? The guards stopped being so mean to her because they tried to play her. They were like, oh, she had saved Lucien, by the way, because the girl did ask for her real name. She was like, I'm not telling you, so you can go hunt down my family? No. And then she was about to kill Lucien. She was like, it's Feyre. I'm like, one thing she is a good person. And so, Lucien's mother actually helped her, because the guards were like, you better clean in here or this is gonna happen to you. And they gave her dirty water and said, clean the marble floor. I'm like, y'all ain't shit. And so then she was like, because you saved my son and the water was clean. I'm like, you know what you could have did? Snap the thing clean. Why do I still gotta clean it? And so I'm like, if you got power, but you know what? She might not have had power like that. Like, a lot of them, she took everyone's power. I also didn't tell you, Jurian is still alive, like his soul, because she kept him alive. Like, she was wearing a ring with Jurian's eye, which kept him alive, and a bone. She had a witchcraft on that too. So you saw his eye moving around. And I think he was talking shit sometimes with his eye, because he shook his eye back and forth when she was like, you got a deal. He was like, girl, no. And she was like, Jurian, shut up. Anyways, and everybody would laugh at her. Fairies were like voting against her and everything. And it seemed like they were just as vile as Amarantha. And we're going to get to that too. But so that was clean. And they kind of looked at her like, okay, we'll pull all the lentils out of the soot. And she was just like, and the person, if you don't got it clean, he's going to peel your skin. The room that she had to clean was Reason's, and Reason was like, okay, it's clean. Why are you in my room? They said you were gonna peel my skin. And when they came back, he was like, no longer is she doing chores. She's done doing chores forever for her stay. And also, everything's clean, and don't rough handle her or you will have to stab yourself. So basically her stay got a little bit better. Now he kept bringing her to parties, so she went from just staying in her jail cell all the time, her dungeon cell, to having to go with Reason. But she didn't like it because he had her in a hoochie mama dress. What I would love to see that dress, because I feel like I see it in my head. But he had her in a hoochie mama dress, and she had to be around Amarantha and Tamlin and all of them, and they were like all making fun of her and making her drink the wine that she wasn't supposed to be drinking. And he was just always I thought he was being annoying. I was like, why you can't leave her alone and all that? Why you gotta be so ag? And then her next task was reading. So that's why it was important that I told you she can't read. She could not read, and they put Lucian on there, meaning that he could possibly die too, because they put spikes that were going to go down and just slowly impale her if she didn't figure out the riddle, and she had to pick 1, 2, or 3. But because of the tattoo that she had on, he helped her win that, because she can't read. She almost died because she couldn't read. And that really affected her more than anything. She was just like, I am ignorant, I'm stupid. Like, she felt some type of way. I'm like, oh my God, somebody please teach her to read. It's taking her out at this point. She made it through that, and she was about to start crying. Like, that almost broke her, because that's something that she really couldn't do. And it messed with her mental. Like, doing the worm, like killing the worm, easy stuff, light work. But reading, oh my God, it hurt her. Like, they basically tried to call her uneducated. But the girl, Amarantha, didn't know that she couldn't read. She didn't know. She just thought she gave her a riddle. And so she's still going to the parties, like, after that. And her and Tamlin actually made out, and Reason had to, like, take over and make out with her. And she was like, see, humans are whores. They suck. Like, that's what Amarantha said. And she was like, why did you do that? And he was like, do you think that if she caught y'all making out, that would have turned out well for you? It wouldn't have. So yeah, I just saved your butt. You're welcome. And also, Reason ended up saying, like, ugh, I'm in your cell right now because I just need to get away. I'm tired of her. So he's basically being like, he has to sleep with her. Like, even though she wants Tamlin, she's still riding on Reason, and he's just like, I'm just so sick of this. Like, I don't like her. And in the third final task, like, everyone that used to taunt Feyre, they were all quiet. And then she realized, she was like, everyone is putting on a show because they are trapped. She has trapped everybody. Nobody there is really her consort. They are just stuck because, I mean, maybe some of them do follow her, but majority of them were trapped. She literally took everybody's court and forced them to bow to her. So they're just, yeah, haha, you're so funny from being cruel and being an asshole, because they're trying to stay alive and trying to figure out how they can get out of it. But the last task, they were like, we're not gonna make fun of you, and they tributed her because they were like, you're our only hope to getting the hell out of here, because if Tamlin gets his power back, he can just kill Amarantha and then everything is done. So the final task, she does beat. What was the final task? Oh, Amarantha made her kill 3 fairies, and the 3rd fairy was Tamlin. And she was like, what do I do? What do I do? What do I do? And like, they said he had, for a heart of stone, you're pretty soft. So he actually had a hard heart. So the thing to kill him wouldn't kill him. But she still had to kill 2 fairies, and she felt some type of way. She did win because Tamlin didn't die, but he was healing slow on purpose because Amarantha didn't want her to win. And so she started beating the girl up. She was like, I can let him go and give him his power back when you're dead, because she was like, oh, you might as well just kill yourself, because how it was you might as well kill yourself because you're fighting for him. What's the point of having a life without him? Don't do that. And that's why she was like, let me go ahead and stab him. Like, she realized if I stab him, he's not gonna die, because Amarantha wants him so much, she wouldn't put his life in jeopardy, basically. So she did that, and they made her so mad, and people started actually yelling in the crowd like, you're a cheat, like, she won, let him go. She's like, I didn't say when. It could be after you die, I'll let him go. I didn't say when I would let him go. I said I would. I never said when. And I'm like, what kind of technicality? And so she started beating up Fairy, and she's like, say you don't love him. Say you don't love him. Say you don't love him. And I'm like, ooh, she is big bad, okay? And Tamlin can't help. And then Reason is trying to fight, but he's losing because, again, nobody can fight right now because she has all of their power locked up, and she is like brutal, a brutal killer. And then Feyre solved the riddle. She mulled it over in her head, and she was like, oh, it's love. The riddle answer is love. And I reread that riddle like, what? It makes sense, but at the same time, it still kind of goes over my head. And everything just, Tamlin got his power, and all of a sudden, Amarantha was like, please. That's all she got out, please. And yeah, she got killed. And everyone was thanking her and all that, but she still felt some type of way for killing fairies, like right there just to save her life. Like, that's something that's going to bother her. And she was dead, but then all of them saved her. Like, all of the High Lords gave her a gift. And so now she's a High Lord or a High Court fairy as well. So now she's immortal. And that was like the end of the book. So how I feel about the book is, girl, anyways, I'm gonna have to go ahead and finish that book series. Okay, my client recommended a really good one. I'm gonna give it a 4.5. It's definitely something that I want to keep listening to, because I'm like, well, what else you got to tell us? It was kind of a happy ending, but it was just still a really good book. There were so many things. It had me drawn in. It took, like, I was listening to it around family. I'm like, everyone shh. Or when I was taking clients, I was like, shh, because the book is getting good. It's getting crazy. And it was just a really good book, you guys. It was. And I know most of y'all have probably been read it or have enjoyed it. It was a good book, and I am going to continue the series. Will it be the series next week? No, I don't think it'll be next week's book that I read. I think because I've already started another book. I told you guys. Also, I don't have my Audible credit yet. So when I get my Audible credit, yes, I will get the next book in the series, and we will continue. And I'm going to figure out how I can segment them, so that way, if you're like really focused on that section, you can go to that section. But yes, the next book will not be that one, okay? Because I don't have an Audible credit yet. But it was a really good book. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was well written or well spoken. I don't know. And it really had me thinking, and it made me mull over all the things that they said. I'm like, oh my God, so when this happened, that's what that meant. And when this happened, that's what that meant. And I'm like, love. And it made me go back and read what she said that equaled love. And it's crazy that she knows what love is, but she was so cruel and trifling. And the truth came out, like, about Reason and stuff. He was like, I wanted you to win because I wanted to be set free. If Tamlin was set free, we would all be free. And basically all the stuff that she endured, she literally saved the fairy race. Now, I will say, I still want to know, which I guess the other books will tell us, why the fairies hate us so much, because we had a war against them, but there was a time when they were just torturing and killing us. And that's why we had the war, because we wanted them to stop doing it to us. But now they're like, typical human, you just hate us instantly. And I'm like, did y'all forget what y'all did? It wasn't forgotten. But I want to know, like, there had to be some kind of reason. Kind of makes me just a little bit. But it was a really good book. And the next book that we will be listening to, okay, or reading, if you would like to come in and follow along. The next book that we will be looking at is The Devotion of Suspect X, a Detective Galileo novel. Oh my God, that's another series I didn't even know. I hope this is book 1. Hold on, because I already started it. And it is by Keigo Higashino. Hold on, let me see. The Devotion series. Let's see. Let's hope we on book 1, baby. Well, what the hell are the other ones? It's book 1 for 448 pages. And I'm gonna guess that's about 16 hours. No, it's 9 hours. I think it's 9 hours. Let me see. It's in English. And let me tell you what it's about. Yuzuko Hanoaka. Thank you. Girl, I'm like favorite. I can't read. Anyways, accidentally kills her ex-husband. This is why I don't like. See, can I stop telling y'all what the synopsis is about? Because I kind of enjoy not knowing what the book is about and just finding out, like, it's kind of fun. But anyways, I'll just keep doing it for the time being. Kills her ex-husband when circumstances rose to an unendurable level of ghastly behavior from him. What follows is an elongated and witty brain game between the investigator and her accomplice, Ishigami, who aided Yuzuko in covering up the murder. The Devotion of Suspect X is the story about an ingenious plotter and clever Dr. Manabu Yukawa, who helps in solving the case. Yasuko Hanoka works in a restaurant. She is divorced and a single mother of Misato. Her ex-husband Togashi is an abusive man, stalking and extorting money from her. With similar intentions, he showed up at Yasuko's home, this time threatening to kill her and her daughter if she refused to lend him money. What started from denial reached a heated argument, and within a short span of time turned into a nasty fight. In the spur of the moment, Yuzuko killed Togashi. Hearing the commotion in the apartment, Tetsuya Ishigami came into the picture. Ishigami is a middle-aged single math teacher who evidently had a growing affection for Yuzuko. He offered not only to help her dispose of the corpse, but also devised a logical plan to cover up the entire incident. Later, the body was recovered and from where it was disposed of. The principal investigator, Ken Kusanagi, was certain of Yuzuko's involvement with the murder, but was unable to find sufficient evidence. For a better insight, he summoned the assistance of an ingenious physicist, Dr. Manabu Yukawa. Yukawa is a school friend of Ishigami, and he suspected Ishigami. Oh! As the story progresses, there are more interesting twists and turns, keeping the readers thrilled and speculating. The Devotion of Subject X was published by Abacus in 2012 and available in paperback. I want to know what the other, okay, maybe book 1 of 4, Detective Galileo. Okay. I found how it works, and we are on par with starting this series. Book 1, The Devotion of Suspect X. Okay, that's what we're listening to. Book 2 is Salvation of a Saint. Book 3 is Midsummer's Equation, a Detective Galileo novel. And 4 is Silent Parade. Okay. Y'all gonna be tired of me. Be like, any more series you want to start and keep jumping from other series to other series? Yes. I hope this is a long-term relationship that we have going with books together. So yeah. Okay, so that's the book that I started because I'm not gonna lie, I was like halfway through my bike ride and I'm like, I need something, and I just jumped to The Devotion of Suspect X. It's already getting good. I'm only 19 minutes in and the plot has already gotten thick. Oh my God, I'm excited. Are y'all excited for the next book? Because this book is not going to take as long. Next week, I'm going to be on it. And don't worry, when I get my next Audible credit, we're going to jump back. We're going to jump back with the Court of Thorn and Roses series. Don't worry. We're going to finish it. So thank you guys for tuning into my podcast. Please like, comment, share, and subscribe. And also, please put comments down below of your thoughts. Eventually, I need to figure out how y'all can tell me your thoughts on the books so I can read them on here, your thoughts and your reviews. And I would love like a video segment or audio segment of what you thought of the book or crazy thoughts that you had while reading the book. And eventually I would love to have someone pop up in here and we go back and forth. I feel like that would be really, really fun. But until next time, you guys have a good week. Goodbye.